Alright guys, hello again. So now guys, at this time, we will be discussing the lesson 4, and the topic on lesson 4 is sensor and command or IO tab. So IO meaning input output tab, okay? So in this lesson guys, I will discuss these two tabs that you can use in your KidBright IDE, and since we are still doing it online, we are still going to use the KidBright simulator that is online IDE of KidBright. All right. So you can see the link of the KidBright simulator on the Google Classroom that I posted. You can just click that link so that you can open this KidBright simulator easier, okay? All right. So our lesson for today guys is sensor and command tab or input and output tab. So let's present this Google slide. So you can open this Google slide as well guys in your Google Classroom so that you can follow my discussion, okay? All right, so these two tabs guys that we're going to discuss for today, the sensor and the command tab, these are the most commonly used tabs in KidBright when you are programming using like if else or conditional programs. So these are most commonly used, and since we can do a lot of things in our KidBright, so it's better for you to understand these two tabs, okay? All of the commands here, all right? So let's start guys our lesson today, okay? So first, let me discuss the sensor tab. So the sensor tab contains command blocks for using light or temperature sensors and checking switch status. All right, as I mentioned the first time guys, in our KidBright board, okay? Here in our KidBright board, we have two built-in sensors, okay? So meaning there are already two sensors here in this board, okay? The light sensor and the temperature sensor. And using the sensor tab, we can access and manipulate our light and temperature sensors, okay, using that tab. And also, we can also check the status of our switch, the switch 1 and the switch 2, okay? So let's first look at what is inside the sensor tab. All right, so if you open KidBright sensor tab on the KidBright IDE, so you can see these 4 commands. So the first is light level sensor, second is temperature sensor, and then the third is switch 1, and the fourth is switch 2. All right, so let's discuss guys one by one all these 4 commands inside the sensor tab. So the first one is the light level sensor. So light level sensor, the use of this command is it read the result from the light sensor, okay? So whatever the value of the light sensor, it will be displayed using this one, okay? Using this command, we can read what is the value of the sensor, okay? Of our light sensor. And then the temperature sensor, so it will read the result from the temperature sensor, okay? So we have two sensors, right? Light level and temperature sensor. So if we want to know what is the value of light and what is the value of temperature, so it's inside these two commands, okay? The value of light and the value of temperature. All right, so that is light level sensor and temperature sensor. Next is switch 1. So switch 1, it will check or it will read if switch 1 is pressed, okay? So it's just like you can use the switch 1 if you want to know if the switch 1 is being pressed or not, okay? So if switch 1 is pressed, the value is 1. If not, the value is 0, okay? And switch 2, so it will check if switch 2 is being pressed. If being pressed, the value is 1. If not being pressed, the value is 0, okay? So you just have to remember here guys in switches, switch 1 and switch 2, if switch 1 and switch 2 is not being pressed, okay, you're not touching it, you're not pressing it, so the value of these two switches R2, I mean R0, okay? If you are not touching it, you're not pressing it, the value is 0. But once you press one of this, let's say you will press switch 1. So from 0, it will turn to 1, okay? The value will become 1, all right? The same with switch 2, all right? If not being pressed, value is 0. If being pressed, the value is 1, all right? So now guys, let's see the teacher's example. So now guys, let me show you guys some examples on using those 4 commands in sensor tab. So you can see the sensor tab here, all right? And as you can see, let me just zoom in. Okay. So as you can see guys, these are the 4 commands inside the sensor tab. So let's first use the light level sensor. So using this command guys, we can display what is the value of our light level sensor. So if we want to display it, we can just put it inside the forever. And let's just use the LED scroll when ready. All right, and then let's put it here, and we can just put here a delay. All right. So this is a simple command or simple code on how to display the value of the light level sensor. So we can just run this, and then if we play this, okay, you see the value of light since we are doing it online guys. All right. So we can just adjust the value of the light level sensor like this. Let's say the value of light level sensor is 64. You can see 64 will be displayed. All right. If we change it to 49, so it will be displaying 49 on the LED screen. Okay. But if we are using the real KidBright board, guys, let's say we will go back to school and we're going to use this. So the light level sensor here in our KidBright board will work. Okay, we don't need to adjust it like this. Okay, whatever, like if you put it in front of lights, okay, the value of the light level sensor will be higher. Okay, but if it's dark, there's no light at all, the value of the light level sensor is 0. Okay, so here, since we are doing it online, we can just adjust it. Okay, so let's say it's just like morning and then there's not too much light, so the value of the light level sensor is 11, and then if there's like too much light, so it will become higher. Okay, the value. All right, so that is the light level sensor, guys. If you want to display, if you want to know what's the value of light level sensor, just use this command inside the sensor tab. So next, guys, let's use the temperature sensor. So if we run this, okay, and as you can see, the temperature is 20 now. All right, so if we want to adjust this, so you can just click this temperature sensor, and let's say it's so hot, like 36 degrees. So you can see that the temperature will be displayed in our LED screen. Okay, so if the temperature gets higher and higher, you can see that it will be displayed in our LED in our KidBright board. Okay, so that's the temperature sensor, guys. If it's cold, okay, the value is lower. If it's hot, the value will become higher. Okay, for the temperature sensor. And since again we are doing it online, so we're just going to adjust the value of the temperature. Okay, and the next one, guys, is let's remove this and let's move on to switch 1. So as I mentioned earlier, guys, if the switch 1 is not being pressed, you will see that the value of switch 1 is 0, right? But if we press switch 1 like this, okay, you see that the value becomes 1, okay? So if not being pressed, let's say I'm not touching it, so it's 0, I'm not pressing it. But if we press the switch 1, the value becomes 1, okay? So the same with switch 2, okay? So for switch 2, it's the same. So if we are not pressing it, switch 2, this is switch 2, right? You see it's 0, but if we press it, it becomes 1, okay? So that is the switch 1 and switch 2 in sensor tab, okay? So you can check the value of switch 1 and switch 2 if it's 0 or 1 using these two commands inside the sensor tab, okay? Alright, so I'm going to show you some examples again, guys. So since this switch 1 and this switch 2, like we can read the value if it's 0 or if it's 1, right? So using those value, if it's 0 or 1, we can use it inside the conditional statements, okay? Conditional programs, like inside the if else or if do, right? So if we can determine what's the value of switch 1 and switch 2, we can use it in if else. So let's I'm going to show you some example, guys. So let's say we want to use this one, if do else, right? And then we want to know if switch 1 is pressed or switch 1 is not being pressed. So let's remove this. So we can just put here on the if, we can put this one, if switch 1. So the value of switch 1, if being pressed, is equals to 1, right? So if we want to know if it's being pressed, so we can just put here, if switch 1 equals 1, all right? So meaning it's just like asking if switch 1 is being pressed. Okay, if switch 1 is equals to 1, let's say LED scroll when ready, and then we can just put here maybe like switch is on. Okay, let's say switch 1. All right, and then we can just duplicate this and put it here, and let's just change this to off. Okay, so meaning if switch 1, if the value is 1, if it's being pressed, it will display switch 1 is on. But if it's not being pressed, it will display switch 1 is off. So if we try to run this, you see, it's displaying, let's make it 0 first. All right. So on because it's 1. So now it's 0, right? So switch 1 is 0. It will display switch 1 is off. Okay, because we are not pressing it. Okay, so one more. So it will be displaying switch 1 is off. But if I press it, I make it 1. All right. So meaning we are now pressing the switch 1. So it will display switch 1 is on. Okay. So you can see switch 1 is on. Okay. So that is how you can use the switch 1 inside the if else. Okay, so if you want to know the switch 2, so you can just change this to switch 2 inside the sensor tab. Okay, so that is the sensor tab, guys, in KidBright IDE. Okay, so that is how you can use the 4 commands. Okay, but there are still more ways on how you can use this 4 commands inside the sensor tab. Okay, so now, guys, let's continue and go back to our Google slide. All right, so that is the sensor tab, guys. Now let's move on to command or the input output tab. So here we can put, or like we can input some devices and we can output devices. Okay, or output or connect it to other devices and we can output our KidBright board to those devices. Okay. All right. So what is the command tab? So it contains command blocks for reading and controlling USB status. Okay. So as I mentioned before, guys, when I showed you this KidBright board, so in the KidBright board we have USB. Okay. We have a USB connector in our KidBright board. Okay. So now we can connect here devices like USB devices. All right. All right. So now let's next. All right, so if you open the command tab inside the KidBright IDE, so this is what you can see. You will see, okay? So these are the color of the command tab or the IO tab. And we have 2, 4, 6, 7. So we have 7 commands inside this tab, okay? So let's discuss one by one. What are those commands that you can put or you can use inside the command tab? So the first one is write output status, okay? So this one, so you can send on and off status to a specified output, okay? So as I mentioned before, guys, the KidBright board has output one and output two, okay? This you can see this big two holes here. So we have output one and output two, and here we also have output one and output 2. All right, here there's like a small holes here for output 1 and output 2, so you can put 4 outputs, okay, in our KidBright board. And using this command, write output status, so we can send on and off status to specified output. Let's say you will use output 1, so then you have to choose output 1, okay? Later on, I will show you these examples, guys. All right, and this one, toggle output 1 status. Okay, so meaning, so we can switch the output values. If the status is on, and then we use toggle, so it will change to off. And then if the status is off, and then we use toggle, so it will change to on. Okay, so it's just like a switch. So this one, this toggle, it works like a switch. Like if you toggle, it will on, and then toggle, it will turn off the status of the output. Okay. And then if we can change the value of output, then we can also read the value. Okay. So this read output status, it can read the specified output values. And then write USB status off. So this one, this is the command that you're going to use if you're going to put a USB device in the USB port in our KidBright board. Okay, so I'm going to show you some examples, guys. So let's say this is the KidBright board, right? Our KidBright board. And then we want to know, or like you want to add devices here in this USB port. So I have here an example, right? So this is a USB light, okay? So using this KidBright board, so we can connect this USB light in our KidBright board, okay? Let me just connect it. Oh, all right. So as you can see, we can connect our USB lights in the KidBright board, and then if we connect it, all right, using this command here, write USB status. So the choices here is off and on. So if it's off, then the light will be off. But if we change it to write USB status on, then the value or this USB light will turn on. Okay. So what's the use of this write USB status? So it send on and off status to USB. All right. And then next is toggle USB status. So the same with toggle earlier. If the status is on and then you toggle, so it will change to off. And then if the status is off and then you toggle, then it will turn on. Okay. And then we can also read the USB status. Okay, the USB status is the values 0 and 1. Okay, 0 is off, 1 is on. Okay, read USB status. All right, and then this one, as I mentioned also before, the KidBright board has inputs, right? We have IN1, IN2, and up to IN4. All right, so we have 4 inputs. And then if we want to read what's the value of our input 1, so or input 2 or input 3 or 4, so using this command we can read the input values. Okay, so now guys, let's see the teacher's example. So here I'm going to show you some examples again, guys, that's inside this IO tab. Okay, so let me just remove this. All right, so if we open our IO tab, all right, you can see these commands. Okay, we have 7 commands inside the IO tab. So let's start with output 1. All right, so as I mentioned, guys, we have output 1 and output 2, right? So if you connected the devices on output 2, then you have to choose number 2 here. And then if you want to turn it on or turn it off, okay, so that's how you will use the write output status. All right, guys, so I'm going to show you guys some examples again using write output 1 status off or on. Okay, so let's say, guys, as I mentioned earlier, guys, output, we can add other devices in our KidBright board to change the value of our output, right? So first, since we are doing it online, guys, we can just connect some devices here in our out 1 and out 2. You can see we have two output, okay, out 1 and out 2. So here, guys, if you click these tabs here on top, you can see these are some devices, online devices that you can connect to our KidBright board. Okay, there's a lot actually. So now, guys, here we're just going to use this LED and put it in our output. Okay, let's say I'm going to choose color red. Okay, so we can connect this in our out 1. Okay, so you can see our LED here is connected now in 3V3, okay, or 3 volts, and then out 1. You see it's connected to out 1, right? So if we have this now, so we can change the value of our output using this command, out 1, output 1, okay? So let's make it a program. So let's say, let's put it inside forever, and then let's see. The first command is we are going to turn on our output 1. So if we run this, okay, and play this, you see the light in the LED light is turned on. It's color red, right? So meaning the value of out 1 is on because we use this output 1 status on, right? So that is how you will turn on and turn off, okay, the output. And then, guys, the next command here is toggle. So as I mentioned earlier on the discussion, toggle is if the status is on and then you toggle, it will change to off. And then if the status is off and then you toggle, it will turn on. Okay? So here, let's have this example. So we can just put here maybe delay for 2 seconds and then toggle output 1. So first is on and then we toggle, so the output 1 will be off. Okay, so let's say we add another delay and then we toggle again. And then let's add one more and then we toggle. All right, so let's review. So in forever, we first put the output 1 status on. So here in this line of code, we turn on. And then we delay 2 seconds and then we toggle. So from on this part, it will be off. Okay, the output 1. And then we delay and then we toggle again. So here it's off and then we toggle. So now it's on. And then for the last time, we toggle again. So on this last part, it's off. Okay, and since it's inside forever, after this last command here, it will go back to the beginning again. So let's try. So if we run it, you see it's on and then off and then on and then off again. Okay, as you can see, it's turning on and off because we are using toggle in our output 1. Okay, so that is how you will use output 1 and toggle output 1. Okay, but if you connected your LED light or your other devices on output 2, So you just have to change it to out to. Okay. So you have to remember that. Make sure that um, you have to remember where you connect your device, if it's in output 1 or output 2, because you are going to choose here if it's 1 or if it's 2. Okay. So that's how you use write output and toggle. So next, guys, is so read output. So read output is just if you want to, let's say, let's remove this. So let's say here you um you turn on the output one, and then if you want to know if it's really turned on, so let's put it inside the LED screen and let's put it here. All right, and then we can just put here a delay. All right, so if you run it here, so the first one, the first command here is we turned on. So when we read the output status, it should be turned on, right? So let's try. So after 2, as you can see, it's displaying the value 1 because 1 is turned on and 0 is turned off. All right. So that's how you read the output status. All right. So next is write USB status off and on. All right. So let's try this one, guys. So here we can just put it here, write USB status, but here let's remove our light. Okay. And this is our USB. Okay. I mean this one. Okay, this one is our USB port. So here we can just connect other parts here. So let's say I will use USB light. Okay, let's connect it here. So now here, guys, I have connected my USB light in the simulator. So you can just close this, and here we will write USB status off and on. So first we will put here write USB status on. All right, and then maybe we can just we'll try to run this one for now, guys. So here we just turned on our USB. So if we run this and we connected our light in the USB, so if we run, the USB light will be turned on. Okay, as you can see here. All right, but if we want to turn it off, so we can just put here a delay for like let's say 2 seconds. And then let's just put your right USB status off. All right, so it's be like turn on and off. All right, and then let's put here a delay. All right, so if we run this, as you can see, it's on. All right, so let's make, all right, it's on. And then after 2 seconds, it's off. And then on again and off. All right. Because it's going to be turned on and turning off because it's inside forever. Okay, so that is how you will use the right USB status on and off. All right, and then toggle is if you want to toggle, and then read is if you want to read the values. 0 is off, 1 is on. Okay, and this one is if you want to read the input, and it's the same. 0 is off, 1 is on. Okay, so here, guys, I'm going to show you another example, and in this example we are going to use our USB. Okay, USB in our KidBright program, KidBright board, and KidBright IDE, and we're going to use our USB light, and then we are going to like automatically turn on and turn off our lights using sensor. Okay, so if we're going to use light, USB light, and sensor, of course, we're going to use light level sensor, right? So let's try that program. So let's put inside, let's use forever first, and then let's set it up first, okay? So in our program, we need USB light, okay? So it's here now. And here we're going to use logic, and then this one if do else. All right, and here we're just going to check if we're going to make a condition first. So to automatically turn on and turn off our lights, we have to add a condition on our light level sensor. So let's say All right, so let's say, wait a minute. So let's say if light, okay, let me just make it bigger. If light is greater than 50, so it's should be USB is off, okay, because there's so much light already, so you don't need to turn off or turn on your light. But if light is less than 50, so meaning there's no light, there's not enough light, so you have to turn on your light. So it should be USB is on. Okay, so let's say this is our condition, guys. So it will automatically turn on and turn off our USB light if the light level sensor is greater than 50, USB is off. If light level sensor is less than 50, USB is on. Okay, so let's say this is our condition. So we'll put here if. So we have to use this logic again, if. And then let's go to sensor and let's use light level sensor. If light level sensor, so let's change it to less than. So if light level sensor is less than, and then we'll put here, if less than 50, it should be what? It should be off, right? If less than 50, it's on. If less than 50, it should be on. So we will put here, inside the do, input output right, USB status on. Okay, and then we can just put here a delay for 0.5 seconds. And then here, if on else, we're just going to put here the same, right? USB, but it should be off. And then delay. So what's going to happen here in this program, guys? If light level sensor is less than 50, so it should be turning on the USB. Alright? And if it's false, it's not less than 50, meaning it's greater than 50, it will do this program, right? USB status off. So let's try this, guys. Alright? And let's run. So as you can see, the light is off, right? Because the value is 72. But if we, let's say it becomes darker, all right, and then becomes 48, all right. So you can see the USB light is turning on, and then if we use if we make it higher than 50, all right, USB light will turn off, okay. So now, guys, since we are doing it online, so we need to adjust the value of our light level sensor. But if we are doing it on our actual KidBright board, you can actually see that the lights will turn on and turn off automatically based on the light level sensor in our KidBright board. Okay, so that is how you use the light level sensor, guys, and USB status on and off. And we put it inside the if do else condition, and we put it inside the forever so that it will always run our program. Okay, all right, guys, so that is our lesson on sensor. So sensor, you can see the light level sensor, temperature sensor, switch 1 and switch 2, and the IO or input and output tab. You can change the value of the output, change the value of the input, and we can change the value of our USB status on and off. Okay, so that is our lesson, guys, about sensor and command tab or IO tab, input and output tab. All right, so now, guys, if you have any questions, I want you to write your question on the chat box on the Google meeting, and I will answer your questions there. Okay, and now, guys, we are finished with our discussion on lesson 4, sensor and command tab. So now we're going to move on your activity for today. So if you open your um, Google Classroom, you will see the file activity 4. But before I explain the activity 4, guys, I have one other task for you guys. Okay. So here in our KidBright, on your midterm and on your finals, you're going to create a KidBright project. Okay. So by now, I want you guys to choose your members for your group on your project. Okay, so we can open this. All right, and then so here I want to know who will be your uh, members on your group. Okay, so at this point, um, you should be you should already have your group members for your group project in this subject. Okay. So by now, I want you to just choose your members. So the members of your group should have a maximum of 4. Okay? So if you can do it with only 3 people, so it's okay. But the maximum members per group will be 4. So I want you to write the nicknames of the groups for your nicknames of the members for your group. Okay? So these members, guys, will be the members on your group until finals. Okay, you're going to work together to create the project of KidBright until finals. Okay, so you just have to put here your members' nicknames. Okay, and class and number. Okay, all right. So I want you to do it as well. So I want all of you to write your members. Okay, so all of you, all members should submit this file. Okay, so I'm going to make a copy for each student. Okay, so now guys, let's move on to your activity. It's activity number 4. All right, sensor and command tab or IO tab. So you see lesson 4. So put your nickname, your class and number on this file. So we have 2 parts. So part 1 is explanations of this of the following. Okay, so part 1, please explain the meaning or function of the following. So number 1, what is the meaning of embedded computer? So we discussed this on the first meeting. And what is an embedded KidBright board? All right, so what is KidBright IDE? So what is a light sensor in KidBright board? So what's the function and what's the meaning of light sensor on the KidBright board? And then the temperature sensor on the KidBright board. What's the definition and what's the uses of temperature sensor on KidBright board? Okay, so that's part 1. And for part 2, guys, I want you to create a program, KidBright program, using the KidBright simulator since we are doing it online. So number 1, create a KidBright program that will display a text on the KidBright LED. So you just have to create a program that will display, and you're going to use light sensor. Okay, so first is you have to display what is the value of the light level sensor. Okay, next is display this text. Display the text, it's night, if the value of light sensor is less than 30. Okay, and then display the text, it's morning, if the value of light level sensor is greater than 30. Okay, so you're going to use here conditional statements, if, do, and else. Okay, so I want you to take the screenshot of your program and the output here. Okay, so you have to put here 2 screenshot of the program and screenshot of the output and paste it here. Okay, and then number 2, guys, create a program that will turn on a USB fan on a KidBright board. Okay, with the temperature sensor. Okay, so earlier, guys, on the example that I showed you, we use USB light and light level sensor. So in this number 2, guys, you're going to use USB fan on the KidBright board, and you're going to use temperature sensor. Okay, and since we are doing it online, you have to use the KidBright simulator to create this program. All right, then what are you going to display? So first, display the value of the temperature sensor. What's the value of the temperature sensor? And then these are the condition. Turn on the USB fan when the temperature sensor is greater than 28. Then turn off the USB fan when temperature sensor is less than 28. Okay? So add another function, guys. So aside from turning on and off the USB fan, automatically using the temperature sensor, so I want you to add another function that will turn off manually, okay, the USB fan when switch 1 is pressed. So meaning I want you to add another program that will turn off the USB fan if you press switch 1, okay? So I want you to take the screenshot of your output, your program here, and then screenshot of your output here, okay? If you can take a video, okay? If you can record a video of the output while the USB fan is turning on and turning off. So if you can do that, so that would be better as well, so that I can see your output, okay? So if you can do that, attach your video on the Google Classroom, okay? That I will be posting in your Google Classroom, okay? Attach it here. All right? So that's your activity for today, guys. Part 1, you have to answer and explain all this. And part 2, you have to create a program using KidBright Simulator since we are still online, okay? So that's your activity, guys. And if you have any questions or any clarifications about our lesson for today and about the activity, just message me and let me know what is your question on the Google meeting. So I'll be in the Google meeting, guys, okay? So you can start doing it now.